If you're a DC fan, the chances of you being a die-hard Young Justice stan are incredibly high. I know this because, well, it's just that good. DC fans love Young Justice, including little ol' me. I mean, come on, we got Batman, Superman, Wonder... I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Just know that this show is jam-packed with all things DC. So ready your utility belts and sharpen those batarangs. It's time to explore everything Young Justice has to offer. But before we jump to the show, let's meet a few important characters. First of all, we've got Robin, Batman's sidekick, who's an unstoppable genius hacker and also the youngest of all the sidekicks. Then we have Kid Flash, Flash's sidekick, a lovable idiot who runs fast and eats a lot. Other members of the gang include Miss Martian, Martian Manhunter's niece who has the hots for Superboy. Superboy, a clone with anger issues created from Superman's DNA, and finally, Aqualad, Aquaman's sidekick who's a really humble guy with water-based powers. There will be a lot of other characters joining in too, but we'll get there when we get there. For now, let's get on with the episodes. So the very first episode of Young Justice, Independence Day, kicks off with Batman, Aquaman, Flash, and Green Arrow promising to take their sidekicks Robin, Aqualad, Kid Flash, and Speedy to the official Justice League headquarters. Of course, all the young heroes are excited to visit. They're thinking this day will be the first step to their independence, the day they finally get rid of the tag of being just a sidekick and go on real hero missions as part of the Justice League. However, when they reach the headquarters, they get nothing but disappointment from their so-called mentors. Turns out the Justice League only wanted to give them a tour of the outer building and nothing else. Things are still pretty much the same. No promotions, no invitations to be an official part of the League, not even a real visit to the HQ.
It's a first step. You've been granted access few others get.
Oh, really?
Speedy takes this to heart. Seeing him so incredibly hurt, Green Arrow appeases Batman to let the young heroes into the real HQ at least. However, Batman doesn't budge, and so Speedy officially leaves his sidekick gig and decides to fight the good fight on his own. Robin, Kid Flash, and Aqualad are disappointed with the League's behavior as well. However, they decide to rebel in a different way. Robin hacks the League's computer system, and the gang then decides to investigate a small mission that the League doesn't have time for. Later, to nobody's surprise, the very small mission of just a small fire at the Cadmus research facility turns into quite a big ordeal. Apparently, the young heroes find out what the facility is hiding: a clone of Superman called Superboy, and they plan to use him as a weapon against the big blue Boy Scout.
And we can guess what else. They're making a slave out of, well, Superman's son.
And so, they free Superboy from captivity. However, since Superboy is under the mind control of the facility's genomorphs, which are essentially just these little alien things that have different powers, Superboy turns his back on the heroes under the orders of the lead scientist of the facility. The next episode, Fireworks, starts with the heroes waking up in captivity, thanks to Superboy. However, as Robin starts hacking into their digital cages and Kid Flash starts talking smack at Superboy, Aqualad decides to take a different approach. He sees that Superboy is somehow being mind-controlled by the Cadmus facility, so he tries to reason with him to see the truth.
See, you're not a real boy, you're a weapon, and you belong to me!
For once, the diplomatic approach actually works. Superboy frees the gang from their digital cages, and they all then decide to escape the facility. They face a lot of genomorphs on their way, but ultimately they're able to defeat all of them, including the lead scientist, Blockbuster. As they exit the facility, they find the entire Justice League outside waiting for them, and they look pretty mad. They scold the young heroes for going rogue on such a dangerous mission. However, the heroes strike back, saying that they did such good work here, that they deserve to get some real missions outside of the League's supervision. Yeah, Batman, they're not kids anymore. The gang is firm on their stance, so the League eventually has to give in. However, Batman tells them that they will only take covert spy missions under his guidance from now on. He then also assigns Red Tornado to be their warden at their new personal HQ, Mount Justice, and places Black Canary in charge of their training. By the end of the episode, Miss Martian, Martian Manhunter's niece, also officially becomes a part of Team Sidekick.
I like your t-shirt.
The next episode, Welcome to Happy Harbor, kicks off with Kid Flash, Robin, and Aqualad convincing Speedy to join the team. However, Speedy rejects their offer completely, telling them that this Junior Justice League stuff is just a joke. It's just a new way of keeping the sidekicks busy with useless fluff missions. The team then leaves for Mount Justice to see if there are any new missions for them to work on. However, there's really nothing but peanuts. So while they're waiting for Batman to assign them a mission, Red Tornado advises the 5 of them to work on their team building and to get to know each other. Since Miss Martian and Superboy are living at Mount Justice, unlike the other 3, Miss Martian decides to give everybody a tour of the cave.
I'm Wally. See, I already trust you with my secret ID. Unlike Mr. Dark Glasses over here.
She also takes all of them on a ride in her Martian bioship. And soon enough, the team spots a villain called Twister, with suspiciously similar powers as the Red Tornado. At first, Ms. Martian thinks that it's just Red Tornado putting their abilities to the test, which leads all of them to believe that this is a useless fluff mission, just like Speedy said. Turns out, Martian is incredibly wrong. This is, in fact, a real villain. Her being wrong about this makes Superboy very angry. The rest of the team also tries to send her home, thinking she's not ready for missions yet, and so she leaves. However, as they all continue fighting Twister, she later comes back with a new plan that eventually leads to success, restoring the team's trust in her again.
Longer than you might think.
Superboy also says sorry to her for being oh so incredibly rude. The next episode, Drop Zone, starts with the team taking off to Santa Prisca for a covert spy mission assigned by Batman. The heroes are tasked to investigate the island due to missing Venom shipments and supposed Colt Cobra interference. However, the lack of a proper chain of command leads to a lot of stupid mistakes. Wally blows their cover. Robin, as usual, goes rogue and starts hacking into stuff on his own, and Superboy is careless with his super strength. Still, the team is able to gather a lot of valuable intel. Apparently, Colt Cobra has taken over Bane's Venom production factory to create a special kind of venom, a permanent one, that alters the shape of a human body to achieve super strength. And Cobra plans to sell this poison to Sportsmaster. However, just as Sportsmaster takes off with the shipment, the team is able to blow his plane to bits, ruining everything except for one vial of the new venom. The team then also decides that even though Robin is the most skilled and has the most experience, he's still a 13-year-old boy. So until he comes of age, Aqualad will lead the team. By the end of the episode, we also find out that all these missions, including Cadmus, Tornado Twister, and Santa Prisca, are interrelated, and a mysterious group called the Light is behind all of it. The next episode, Schooled, starts with Superboy feeling extremely annoyed at Superman for acting like he doesn't exist. Batman witnesses all of this and even tries to talk to the big blue Boy Scout about it, taking him to an ice cream parlor. However, Superman is just being weird about the whole subject.
Trust me on this. This boy needs his father.
I'm not his father.
On the other side of things, Professor Ivo is terrorizing the Justice League with a high-tech android called Amazo that is capable of absorbing and accessing the superpowers of any superhero in the world. Luckily, the League is able to capture this high-tech android, and now our young heroes are tasked to make sure that this dangerous weapon gets delivered to Star Labs safely for research, I guess. However, since Superboy is also being weird because his supposed dad isn't paying attention to him, things go south very quickly, as Ivo is able to steal Amazo back. But soon enough, the team retrieves the android, and in the process of doing just that, Superboy also calms down and realizes that even though Superman isn't paying attention, a lot of other adults like Black Canary and Batman are. Not to mention, his team has been nothing but awesome to him. So come on, things aren't that bad. By the end of the episode, Batman also promises Superboy that Superman will come around. The next episode, Infiltrator, kicks off with Speedy saving a genius doctor called Serling Rocket from the League of Shadows. Apparently, they captured her to make a special weapon called Fog for them, which is, it's fog. But it's weaponized and destroys anything it touches. It's very useful when it comes to stealing data from anywhere. Speedy successfully rescues the doctor. However, he couldn't destroy Fog in time, so he decides to visit the Justice League to take their help in the matter. The Justice League then tasks our young heroes to protect the Doctor until she destabilizes Fog. Apart from that, they also add a new member to their gang, Artemis, who's Green Arrow's new protege, which means Speedy got replaced.
Artemis, your new teammate.
Kid Flash, never heard of you.
She's my new protege.
Batman tells the gang that Artemis is Green Arrow's niece, but it's later clarified that he's actually lying. Back to business, the mission begins, and the crew does a great job protecting the Doctor from the League of Shadows assassins. The Doctor also successfully completes her mission to destabilize Fog. However, the League of Shadows still manages to steal valuable data from Star Labs before she's able to secure it.
I suppose now you bring me to justice. Let your new friends interrogate me.
By the end of it all, the gang also accepts Artemis as an official member. Well, everybody except Kid Flash, I guess. Yep, there's some palpable tension there, for sure. The next episode, Denial, features the team, all except for Robin, because he's busy with Batman helping Red Tornado with a personal mission. Apparently, Clarion the Witch Boy has kidnapped Kent Nelson, the wielder of Dr. Fate's helmet, and our young heroes are now tasked with rescuing him. They all step into the Tower of Fate in order to save Nelson, and they all face a few drawbacks because Wally refuses to believe in magic. Right, that's the most ridiculous thing happening in this universe. We have aliens, superpowers, magic is insane. However, by the end, he makes up for it by keeping his beliefs aside and letting the helmet take control of his body in order to save everyone from Clarion the Witch Boy. As the mission ends, Nelson gives Wally some advice. He tells him he had his wife Inza, who always used to keep him in check, and then adds that maybe Wally also needs somebody like that in his life, his own little Spitfire.
Hello, Megan! Guess who bought us 2 tickets to a magic show?
In the next episode, titled Downtime, each member of the team is seen in their natural habitat, in their particular home space, except Superboy and Megan. Well, because her home is on Mars, and his home was a literal pod.
Would you like me to turn that on?
No?
Artemis receives a scholarship from the Wayne Foundation to attend Gotham Academy. Wally is with his speedster family celebrating Jay Garrick's birthday, and Batman is seen playing basketball with Robin after noticing that the Boy Wonder feels neglected since he's been paying more attention to Aqualad. Speaking of Aqualad, he's struggling with his decision to stay above the surface. So he goes below to his home in Atlantis to figure out whether he should move back in. The sole reason that he was missing his home, however, was a girl named Tula who he wanted to be with. However, after finding out that Tula is dating Garth, another student of Aquaman who's almost as talented as Aqualad, he decides that the surface world suits him a little bit better. Amidst his time in Atlantis, Aqualad also helps the Atlanteans survive an attack by Black Manta, who infiltrates the Science Center in Atlantis to steal a mysterious frozen sea creature. However, after failing miserably, Manta blows up the entire space in a temper tantrum. Okay, someone's a sore loser. The next episode, Bereft, begins with the team waking up in Bialia with the last 6 months of their memories wiped. All because Superboy becomes a raging ball of hormones, Kid Flash starts flirting with Artemis, Aqualad goes all Atlantis, and Robin, well, Robin doesn't really change much. He's still on his toes, hacking his way into things. I guess Batman taught him pretty well.
It's okay. We're teammates. Friends. I made you cookies.
You know her?
No, I swear, beautiful. Never seen her before in my life.
Soon enough, though, all of them get their memories back, all thanks to Ms. Martian and her mind powers. After that, upon investigating, the team finds out that they were sent to Bialia by none other than the Batman to investigate some kind of alien technology. And so, they get back to what they came for. However, they hit a bottleneck since Superboy gets captured and Aqualad isn't doing too well in the desert. So, Ms. Martian goes to rescue Superboy, destroying Simon with her mind powers in the process, and the rest of the team heads back to the bioship to get some water for Aqualad. As things start to settle down, some sphere-like alien tech starts helping and following Superboy, and so he decides to keep the sphere as his new pet.
Thanks.
In this next episode, called Targets, Speedy, who goes by Red Arrow now, is on a solo mission to protect Lex Luthor. Yep, the super evil corporate guy. However, he's only protecting him because world peace is at stake. Literally. Apparently, Lex is the mediator between General Syngman Lee of Northern Ralasia and Prime Minister Sang of Southern Ralasia. Tensions are rising between these countries, and the last thing this world needs is a war. So Lex needs to be kept alive. Red Arrow is confident he can accomplish this task alone.
I don't pretend to be an angel. It just so happens that this time, I'm on the side of the angels.
However, Cheshire, the League of Shadow Assassin that was also sent to kill Dr. Rocket in Episode 6, is making things difficult for him. So he asks Aqualad for some assistance. Before Aqualad helps him though, he makes sure that Arrow tones down his attitude. Upon investigating, Arrow also finds out that both Cheshire and Sportsmaster, the guy we met in Santa Prisca in Episode 4, are working for Ra's al Ghul. Yep. Batman's future father-in-law, spoiler, wants to kill Lex for some reason and destroy world peace. However, as the episode ends, we find out that Ra's and Lex were working together this whole time. All to make sure that the leaders of Ralasia, North and South, remain scared for their lives so the peace treaty gets signed. Yeah. It's also mentioned that they're both working for the Light. No duh. On a side note, Superboy and Ms. Martian started attending school since an education is also important, And they also picked their Earth names, Megan Morse and Connor Kent.
And I'm really sorry about this. Connor, no!
In the next episode, Terrors, Miss Martian and Superboy go undercover in the Belle Reve prison as the Terror Twins, Tommy Terror and Tuppence Terror. Batman thinks all the ICE villains are planning a big ol' prison escape, and he wants to know if he's right. Which he is, because he's Batman.
Kid's got guts. The kind of guts a father would mind seeing in his own son.
Great to see you too, Dad.
And so, the next thing that Superboy and Martian are tasked with is to find out how this escape is going to go down. However, they aren't able to pinpoint anything worth mentioning since they're barely able to get out alive. To add more to the drama, they also blow their covers in front of Icicle Jr., who thought Tommy was his one and only brosif and would never lie to him, all because they wanted to do a little mouth-to-mouth.
Oh, here.
Dude, that's your sister!
Later, we find out that Hugo Strange, the in-house psychiatrist at Belle Reve, was helping the ICE villains by importing technology and weapons because he also works for, yeah, you know it, the Light. And that is how these people were able to make such elaborate escape plans. However, the heroes don't have any idea about all of that, yet. The following episode, titled Homefront, focuses almost entirely on the Artemis side of things. At first, we see that two unknown robots who look awfully similar to Red Tornado have captured Kid Flash, Aqualad, Superboy, and Miss Martian in the cave itself. As Robin and Artemis try to enter the cave, the robots tell them to surrender ASAP or they will murder their teammates. Seems a bit over the top, but hey, go off.
Distract her, now!
This is also the episode which highlights the fact that there's a mole within the team, which is how the villains associated with the Light are getting insider information. Wonder who that could be. Artemis and Robin try their best to rescue their teammates, and they're successful in doing so as well. With a little help from Kid Flash's nerdy, sciencey guidance, they create an EMP emitter that shuts down every electronic device within a certain range, and the robots soon power down. However, Red Tornado also vanishes soon after all this happens, leaving the team hungry for answers. Still, the highlight of the episode wasn't all of this chaos. It was the revelation that Cheshire, the League of Shadows assassin, is actually Artemis's biological sister. That is a plot twist. In the next episode, called Alpha Male, the team finds out that Batman told Aqualad to figure out this mole situation a while ago, which led Aqualad to analyze his teammates to make sure that they were in the clear. Even more so in the case of Miss Martian, Artemis, and Superboy, since they're new recruits. Right off the bat, the team doesn't like the fact that Aqualad doesn't trust them, and because of that, they're all now giving him the silent treatment.
Yeah, what we want are answers about Red Tornado and his siblings.
Exactly!
Leave the bowl.
Amidst all that, the Justice League tells the team that they will personally figure out the Red Tornado situation since he's a member of the League. Meanwhile, they have another mission that needs the team's attention, and so, all of them then leave for northern India under Batman's orders to figure out the truth behind the increase in guerrilla attacks all around the world. Captain Marvel joins them too, as their new warden. Someone in the League had to replace Red Tornado, you know, so why not pick a superhero whose secret identity is a 12-year-old child? Aqualad faces difficulty leading the mission at first, well, because of the silent treatment, but things later calm down as the team is able to recognize his point of view. Aqualad tells everybody that it was Sportsmaster who tipped him about a traitor in his own team. He did not want to cause tension in the team, so he decided to investigate this covertly, without telling anybody. And well, everything is back to normal.
That's the last of the collars? And I can count on you to keep the other animals out of trouble.
The team takes down the Brain, who's apparently using the collars found in Belle Reve to control giant animals. Why were they so big? Well, because the Brain injected them with Cobra venom. Yep, the same venom that the team found out about in the Santa Prisca episode. As the mission ends, Superboy takes in another stray giant wolf that he names Wolf. Very creative. The next episode, Revelation, is all about the Injustice League. Joker, Poison Ivy, Black Adam, Vertigo, okay? Count Vertigo and a few other villains are terrorizing multiple cities with some high-tech plant stuff. But worry not, Batman has a plan to defeat them. He sends our team of young heroes to destroy the source plant of all the chaos, all while the real Justice League saves the civilians from these plant thingies.
But the longer your governments wait,
the more we get to have our jollies.
The plan is perfect, since the Injustice League would think that the Justice League is far away from the source plant, and so they won't guard it too heavily. The team does face a few drawbacks, which lead to Aqualad having to wear the Helmet of Fate, but, well, the plan is a success overall. Since Nabu, the spirit of the Helmet of Fate, lets Aqualad remove the helmet no problem, and things go back to normal.
Fear not!
The next episode, Humanity, is all about Red Tornado and his robot siblings, which is ironic because, well, they're robots, not much humanity there. It begins with Red Tornado's dad, T.O. Morrow, getting into the lore of all the robots that he's made, and how each one has disappointed him in some way or another. Red Torpedo, the first robot he made, had a strong desire to be human. Meanwhile, Red Inferno, the second sister robot, was a bit too heroic. But then, he made Red Tornado, who was so perfect and logical that he was recruited by the Justice League. And yet, the fact that this perfect robot abandoned his own father for the pursuit of justice has led T.O. Morrow to believe that he isn't that perfect after all. And so, Daddy wants to create a new robot, Red Volcano, who wouldn't care about that Justice League stuff.
Look, Tornado, your brother and sister are back online. We'll have you up and running too.
Back at the cave, our team of young heroes now has a new member, Zatanna, the daughter of Zatara, who is basically the main magic guy of Justice League. The team also finds out that the League is still busy finding Red Tornado, telling them to not look into this matter since he's Justice League's responsibility. But of course, they don't listen. The team kidnaps Zatanna into a hunt for Red Tornado to find out some much-needed answers. They decide to question Professor Ivo about his competitor T.O. Morrow's coordinates, and they find out where Red Tornado is. Upon reaching the facility where all the robots are, Red Volcano, the new robot, attacks the team with all his might. However, all the other robots band together to help the team in defeating him. By the end of the episode, we find out that Red Tornado left the cave to make sure the threat of his father manipulating his sibling robots to do his dirty work is taken care of. And all of this also relieves him from the doubt of being a potential mole. Oh yeah, we also see Robin and Zatanna hidden off quite a bit in this episode. Kinda cool. The next episode, Disordered, is all about the team trying to recover from a mental training exercise that went incredibly wrong. Basically, Miss Martian accidentally caused all of her team members to realize their biggest insecurities. And now, Black Canary is acting as an in-house counselor to make sure they all channel their emotions properly. And one by one, she talks to all of them. First, combat training, now being a counselor. Looks like someone likes working overtime. On the other side of things, to sort his feelings, Superboy goes on a stroll around the city with his pet Sphere and Wolf.
Superboy, return to cave.
However, he soon runs into the Forever people, who tell him that they're from New Genesis. They tell him there are two planets out there that are at odds with one another. New Genesis, the planet of life, and Apocalypse, the planet of anti-life. And they also tell him that Sphere, also called the New Genosphere, is a high-tech sentient device from their planet. So, they're here to take her, yep, Sphere is a her, back to their planet. Superboy, of course, doesn't want that to happen, so he proves it to them that he really cares about Sphere. And Sphere cares about him too. So in the end, they actually let him keep her. This episode also clarifies that the high-tech alien stuff that the villains were smuggling was indeed from these two planets.
I watched Artemis and Kaldor die, and abandon M'gann. I felt at peace.
In the next episode, called Misplaced, Clarion, the Witch Boy, makes a comeback. So basically, he gathers a bunch of sorcerers to split the world into two dimensions, one with just adults and one with just kids. On both ends, the heroes think about wearing the Helmet of Fate to resolve this, but knowing the price that they would have to pay for it, they try to think of some other solution. Soon enough, they find one. Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel could turn into a kid with just one word.
Whoa! Hey!
And because of that, he can travel between these dimensions. And so, the heroes are on both sides, then try to coordinate on both ends to defeat Clarion the Witch Boy. All of it goes well, but Zatanna ends up wearing the Helmet of Fate since, well, she thinks her magic isn't strong enough to beat the Witch Boy. Fate does end up solving everything. However, he now refuses to let Zatanna go. And so, Zatara, her father, offers himself to Fate instead. He tells Nabu that Zatanna is just a kid who hasn't reached her magical potential, that he will be a much better body for him. Since all that he said was indeed true, Nabu lets Zatanna go and takes Zatara's body instead, causing Zatanna to go into a complete mental breakdown. Poor girl.
Thanks. I, could use a little alone time, okay?
Later, we also find out that this chaotic plan was just a distraction. Apparently, the Lords of Light wanted to steal something really important without being noticed by any of the heroes. The next episode, Cold Hearted, takes place on Kid Flash's birthday. At first, we see the team throwing a surprise party for him, and then it's quickly back to business. Batman tells everybody that the League and the team will have to team up in this very important mission to disable 5 flying ice fortresses that have caused an ice storm in Northern America. However, just as everyone gets excited about working side by side, he excludes Kid Flash by giving him a solo mission. Basically, Kid Flash has to run 3,000 miles across the country to deliver a heart for a heart transplant surgery.
Guess I won't be needing stealth.
Speedy delivery, boy.
At first, he moans a bit about it. However, as he ends up saving the life of Queen Perdita, all the fuzzy feelings make him realize that maybe it was all for the best. Later, we also find out that Count Vertigo was behind the entire ice fiasco. All because he was daydreaming about being the next king of Latava. He didn't want Perdita to receive a healthy heart for a heart transplant. And since the ice storm stalled all modes of air and road travel, he was nearly successful, if not for Kid Flash. Vertigo also sent some nuisances in KF's way to slow him down, but, well, he couldn't achieve what he wanted. To top it all off, Kid Flash also makes Vertigo admit that he wanted to kill Queen Perdita in front of her, all so she could put him in jail for life.
I would be pleased for you to have it as a reward or as a souvenir.
Regicide is a serious felony, after all. This next one is called Image, and is a rather scandalous start. Apparently, Superboy and Miss Martian are into roleplay. Yep, it's pretty awkward.
On Mars, this is a common game. My people all shapeshift, but also read minds.
Back to business, though, as usual, Batman has an important mission for the team. Queen Bee, the dictator of Bialia, is using Simon to brainwash the democratically elected president of Karak to merge their countries. And the team now is to fix the situation. However, as soon as they reach the border between Karak and Bialia, they spot a child in danger, and so they decide to help him. Turns out, this child is called Garfield Logan, and he's the son of Miss Martian's favorite small-time celebrity, Marie Logan. Marie used to star in a sitcom called Hello, Megan, and is basically Miss Martian's inspiration for her human body. In the sitcom, Marie also had a boyfriend named Connor, which is essentially why Miss Martian suggested the same name to Superboy when he was picking his human name. Yep, this episode is just one awkward incident after another. The team, of course, doesn't know the influence that the show had on Miss Martian, and after finding all this info out, they have some questions.
But didn't you invite a certain someone to study here?
Hello, Megan!
Miss Martian tells everybody that she was just inspired by Marie and picked her as her human look. Everyone on Mars can shapeshift, and she can't exactly roam around being her actual Martian self, so she had to do this. She also tells them that she just genuinely liked the name Connor, that there's nothing weird going on there as well. However, the team then asks her what she really looks like. And well, here she lies through her teeth. All because she's incredibly insecure about being a white Martian, and she doesn't want her colleagues to think of her as a monster. With all that settled, the team then gets back to what they came for. They undo the brainwashing that Simon did and reveal to everybody that Queen Bee manipulated him to make him agree on this merger. However, their problems do not end there. Garfield apparently suffers a lot of blood loss after being hit by a laser attack, and since he is a rare blood type, it's proven to be very difficult to find donors. Luckily though, Miss Martian is able to morph her blood to match his blood type, saving his life in the process. Later, we also find out that Queen Bee knows Miss Martian's secrets. She knows what Miss Martian really looks like, and now she's using that information to blackmail her. The next episode, Agendas, kicks off with the Justice League planning to take in new members. They consider a lot of good potential options, like Red Arrow, Icon, even Robin, and decide to vote on them to come up with final candidates.
Plastic Man.
I don't know, the guy's got a pretty substantial criminal record.
On the other side of things, Lex Luthor tries to get in touch with Superboy, telling him that there's another clone of him in Cadmus. Intrigued, as well as annoyed, Superboy leaves instantly without telling anybody to check out if this is true. And it is. There is another clone of Superboy at Cadmus, one with all the powers of Superman. And so the first thing that Connor does is free him. This, of course, turns out to be a very bad idea, as he later finds out that this clone is a failed experiment with extreme anger issues. Amidst all this, Connor also finds out that the Xenomorphs have built an underground city to live a normal life among humans. However, the cherry on top from this episode comes all the way in the end, when Lex Luthor reveals to Connor that he is half human and that Lex is his biological father. I mean, what could be more romantic than having a baby with your arch-nemesis, eh, Lex? To add more to the drama, he also gives Connor a silly little sticker gadget, which will suppress his human DNA so that he can reach his full Kryptonian potential.
Red Sun.
In this next episode, called Insecurity, Artemis finds out that she wasn't added to the Young Justice team because she's a talented archer, but rather her mom begged Green Arrow and Batman to take her on so that she doesn't become like her sister. We also find out that Sportsmaster is Artemis's dad, and her mom was also an ex-con called Huntress, which just adds more reason to why her mom was so worried about Artemis being a criminal, like the rest of the family.
But you can't fight who you are. Time to switch sides, Artemis.
Artemis isn't too happy about all this. She thought she had a place on the team because of her talent, but now she feels like she needs to prove to everybody that she's just as good as the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Green Arrow arrives in the cave with another mission. He tells the team to keep an eye on Sportsmaster as something shady is going to go down. Kid Flash, Aqualad, and Red Arrow, who's also a part of the team from now on, volunteers themselves for the mission. And Artemis joins them as well for obvious reasons. As the mission begins, Red Arrow's mere presence makes Artemis feel the pressure to prove herself even more. However, Wally's sweet words do calm her down a little bit. Meanwhile, Red Arrow is all in Artemis's business, still thinking that she could be the mole.
So you're pretty much allergic to radioing a warning?
Artemis to Arrow, look out.
By the end of the episode, the team finds out that Clarion the Witch Boy hired Professor Ivo to make some kind of high-tech weapon from a special sea creature. And Sportsmaster was the guy who brought them this sea creature. Yep, the same sea creature Black Manta almost stole from the Science Center in Atlantis. See? It's all coming together. Well, sort of. This next one is called Usual Suspects, and it is that episode where it all starts to go down. It begins with the Justice League adding 6 new members to their team, and guess what? Red Arrow is one of them. I don't know about everybody else, but I know Batman did not encourage this at all. Anyway, since Icon is one of the new members of the League as well, his sidekick, Rocket, officially joins the team of young heroes too. And soon, they go on a mission together to stop Cheshire from smuggling yet another mysterious case. I swear, the villains of this show are way too much in that high-tech stuff. The mission is successful, and they're able to retrieve the case. And soon enough, Batman is all up in its business trying to analyze this biotech, nanotech sea creature weapon that the team found in the case.
I am shrubbery, not grass. What am I? I am bush.
After all that, Connor gets a secret call from Lex Luthor. Lex tells him that if he wants more of those DNA-suppressing stickers, he can visit him ASAP in Santa Prisca. But well, Connor decides to tell his teammates the truth about what's going on. He probably recognized that the secret rendezvous with his dirtbag dad will cause nothing but trouble. Seeing Connor telling the truth about his dirtbag dad, Artemis comes clean about her dirtbag family too. Soon enough, all of that leads to Miss Martian owning up to her real appearance as well.
So, who's next?
I am.
I swear I was kidding.
Artemis and Miss Martian then tell everybody that they've been called to Santa Prisca too by Sportsmaster and Queen Bee. And so, the team hatches a plan to fool the villains into believing that their mind games are actually working. The team then ambushes the villains in Santa Prisca and eventually beats them back to prison. All except Lex, I guess. Well, because he's rich, so. The last episode of the season begins with good old Red Arrow putting that biotech, nanotech sea creature chip weapon into each member of the Justice League, essentially making all of them slaves to Vandal Savage, who is the head of the Light.
I was the mole? Yes. Yes, you were.
It is then cleared up that Red Arrow is actually a Cadmus clone who was brainwashed and trained into joining the Justice League for this very purpose. And the real Speedy was replaced right after being accepted as Green Arrow's sidekick. So, yeah, it's a lot to unpack there. Evidently, even Red Arrow didn't know what he was doing. He was just brainwashed to follow commands. Luckily, though, Red Tornado comes in handy in this situation. He programs an algorithm where he will power down before infecting anybody else with the sea creature chip. And that is what happens when he tries to infect Aqualad. The team then puts Red Tornado into another one of his robot bodies, and he then reveals everything to them.
Okay, it's pretty much exactly how it looks, but...
Team, get out of the cave, now!
All about Red Arrow being the mole, and how he made the Justice League literal slaves to Vandal Savage. Soon after, the team decides to make an antidote for the League, so that they can get out of Vandal Savage's grasp, and they're successful in doing so. They then infiltrate the Watchtower and start putting in the antidote chip. And one by one, everybody is back to normal. As the clock turns 12, everyone realizes that it's time for a brand new year. Wally finally kisses Artemis, Zatanna kisses Robin, Megan kisses Connor, and Rocket leaves a little peck on Aqualad's cheeks.
We've accounted for most of that time, but these 6 went missing for a full 16 hours we can't account for.
16 hours.
Making a somewhat happy ending for this season, which is way better than the ending of Season 2. Rumor has it that it traumatized an entire generation, but don't worry, we'll get there. Speaking of Season 2, the first episode, called Happy New Year, starts off with the revelation that 6 members of the Justice League went missing for 16 unaccounted hours, while they were under the control of Vandal Savage. And while the team and all the Leaguers work hard to find out what just happened, they don't have any concrete answers. Yet. And just like that, 5 years go by in the world of Young Justice. After these 5 years, we see all kinds of new additions to the team as well as the League. For starters, Robin, or more accurately, Dick Grayson, has now donned the name Nightwing, leaving his legacy behind for Tim Drake, who's famously known as the third Robin. You want to know what happened to the second Robin, Jason Todd? Well, he died. That's all we know for now, at least. More additions to the team include Garfield Logan's Beast Boy. Yep, we met him in Season 1, Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle, Barbara Gordon's Batgirl, Casey Sandsmark's Wonder Girl, Bumblebee, and Lagoon Boy. And all of them, including Tim Drake's Robin, usually follow Nightwing's commands, and he is the quote-unquote leader of the team.
Just don't die, okay? And no unnecessary risks to the squad.
And yeah, Superboy and Miss Martian are still on the team as well. We also find out that Zatanna and Rocket have joined the Justice League now. Nightwing, Miss Martian, and Superboy were invited to join too, but they declined, stating that they're happy where they are. It's also later clarified that Wally and Artemis have left the hero scene altogether. And Aqualad, well, we'll get to what happened to him later. There's also one more interesting development. Miss Martian and Superboy aren't dating anymore. Yeah, who knew that would happen? I didn't. She's dating Lagoon Boy now. Yeah, Young Justice, young drama. All right, with all that settled, let's get into the story. So it all starts from these miniature aliens called the Krolataeans, who are experts in stealing and making tech. Their presence on Earth goes largely unnoticed at first. However, it all changes when intergalactic bounty hunter Lobo reveals one of these miniature aliens in broad daylight.
Ew.
Naturally, everybody on Earth starts to panic, and the team in the League, as usual, try to get to the bottom of just what the hell is happening. Soon, the heroes find out that these aliens have been arriving on Earth from a teleportation-like technology called the Zeta Tube. The heroes use this tech as well, however, their Zeta Tubes only provide teleportation travel in a limited range. When it comes to intergalactic travel, a much higher level of Zeta tech is needed. And, well, these aliens have that tech since they stole it from a planet called Rann. This information, they know what to do next. Nightwing quickly splits the team into multiple squads to check out different locations where traces of this higher Zeta tech were found. And Robin's squad hits the jackpot. Soon after that, Robin's team blows up their entire base. Yeah. In the next episode, Earthlings, Miss Martian, Superboy, and Beast Boy travel to Rann to halt the Krolataean invasion at its source. But that's not all they do. After literally frying a little Krolataean's brain, Miss Martian also finds out just what the 6 Justice League members did during their missing 16 hours. And yeah. We also find out that Miss Martian and Superboy might just have lingering feelings for each other. Come on, just get back together already. In the next episode, Alienated, Miss Martian reveals to the League that they were doing all kinds of heinous criminal activities on a planet called Rimbor in those 16 hours that they were missing. Apparently, they were also announcing that they're the famous Justice League from Earth and that the rest of the galaxy should be scared of them, which put them on an intergalactic wanted list and made our loving and peaceful planet Earth the target of several alien species. She also tells them that the Krolataeans were apparently abducting and replacing humans, which, yikes. I guess we now have the answer to the age-old question of who's scarier, aliens or ghosts? It's aliens.
I don't know what to say. I have no memories of this. None.
The team and the League then team up to go to the backup base of the Krolataean army to take care of whatever's left of them. Surprisingly, though, they meet Aqualad there, working with none other than Black Manta, who's also his biological father. Apparently, after Tula, his one true love, was killed in one of the missions that Nightwing assigned to her, as well as finding out who his real father is, Aqualad turned to the dark side. A fight between the heroes and Aqualad breaks out soon, however, he is able to escape, all while bombing the entire place and the entire Krolataean army with it. Luckily, the heroes are able to evacuate on time. As the episode ends, the 6 members of the Justice League that went missing, namely Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Hawkwoman, and John Stewart's Green Lantern, all leave for Rimbor to explain their situation. Hawkman leaves with them too, to support his woman, and Icon accompanies them as well, since he's well-versed in intergalactic trial law. In this next episode, called Salvage, Nightwing, Wally, Green Arrow, Black Canary, and good old Uncle Guardian, yep, he's Red Arrow's uncle, try to host a little intervention of sorts for Red Arrow. Apparently, the guy has just lost himself in the quest to find the real Speedy, the real Roy Harper, and they all feel like it's time to stop now because he's probably dead. Nightwing and Wally even mention that they never even met the real Roy, and that Clone Roy is the one who was their friend all along.
We've all done the math. Speedy was abducted before any of us met.
You're the guy we trained beside.
Red Arrow, however, flips them all off and tells them that he will continue his quest for the real Roy Harper. His hunch was actually right, as we later find out through Cheshire, yep, the good old League of Shadows assassin, that the real Roy Harper just might be alive. To add more to the drama, she also reveals that she had a baby some time ago, and Clone Roy is the father. Apparently, they had a little thing going on a couple of years ago, which is great for me as an all-time fan of the enemies to lovers trope. It's not so great for Clone Roy, though.
Not you two. Well, forget it, Jade. You lost the right to backseat drive when you left me to return to a life of crime.
The next episode, Beneath, showcases the Blue Beetle side of things. So, Blue Beetle's close friend Ty calls him to tell him that he's running away from his house. Blue quickly flies to his location to stop him. However, Ty gets abducted before Blue even reaches his location.
I'll meet you by the statue of Cochise. We'll talk. Just promise me you'll wait till I get there.
Meanwhile, Nightwing sends a squad to Bialia to find out what's going on. Evidently, he finds some more Zeta Tube activity that needs to be checked out. And as the team reaches there, they find out that Simon and his gang have been abducting children in order to send them to a secret alien partner of the Light. Yep, it's always those guys. The team is able to free the children that they can find in that particular location. However, they don't know that Simon has a lot of backups available as well to make his mysterious alien partner happy. About Ty, yeah, he's one of those backups.
New questions keep the investigation moving forward. You saved lives, and you got each other home safe. It's a successful mission in my book.
The next episode kicks off with Bart Allen, Flash's grandson from the future, arriving at the present through a time machine. At first, it looks like he's just arrived for a casual visit, but, well, later we find out that it's a wee bit more serious than that.
You can't catch me that easy!
Apparently, he comes from a future, 40 years later to be exact, where all the citizens of Earth are enslaved by an alien race. And so, to change that grim future, Bart traveled to the present to make sure that one mysterious thing that caused it doesn't happen. On the other side of things, Clone Roy and Cheshire successfully locate the real Roy Harper in Tibet.
Should I be concerned over the obvious delight our daughter takes in the ultraviolence?
It's genetic.
Basically, the guy was in a pod that was being guarded by Lex Luthor's minions, which makes the situation eerily similar to what happened to Superboy in the beginning of the series. To add more to the drama, it looks like he's also missing his right hand. The next episode, Depths, is all about this new Earth-Mars communication satellite that is being launched. After the discovery of the Krolataeans, however, the general public of the Earth aren't big fans of aliens right now. And so, the team, including Artemis, who has donned her suit for this very special mission, are tasked with safeguarding this important satellite until it's launched.
And did you notice the Kryptonians not taking any questions at all?
A lot of things happen in this mission. On one side, we find out why Connor and Megan broke up. Apparently, Loomis Martian invaded Connor's mind to make him forget some silly mistake that she made, but got caught by Connor in the process. According to Connor, it's just a horrible breach of privacy that he just could not forgive, which is oof. Connor also tells Miss M that he doesn't approve of how she uses her mind powers sometimes. He tells her that she literally leaves her victims in a catatonic state, which makes her no different than Simon.
Guess I was kidding myself. I mean, how replaceable was I? 2 minutes after I ended, you're dating the rebound guy from the Black Lagoon.
On the other side, when Aqualad reaches the launch site with his minions to blow up the satellite, he also ends up killing Artemis. Well, fake killing Artemis to be exact, as it is later revealed that Aqualad was just acting like he defected to the dark side to infiltrate the light from within and find out their hidden motives. Oh, that's awesome.
Welcome back.
And only Nightwing, Wally, and Artemis know about this to make sure this top-secret spy mission actually stays top secret. The next episode, Satisfaction, starts with the real Roy Harper waking up in a hospital in Star City, and he looks mad. Clone Roy and Green Arrow tell him everything that happened, and, well, they also mention that the scientists at Cadmus amputated his arm to make Clone Roy, because apparently they needed a lot of DNA. Surprisingly, though, real Roy isn't mad at Clone Roy. He even kind of thanked him for finding him. The only person he's mad at, though, is Green Arrow, his mentor who was supposed to take care of him. His mentor who gave up looking for him. However, his list of grievances don't end there.
Roy, we were partners. Friends. How could you not know I'd been replaced?
The next thing he does is escape from the hospital to find Lex Luthor and kill him for putting him through all this. And does a really great job. Even destroys Lex's personal robot assistant, who is really hard to beat. especially with one arm. However, real Roy changes his mind when Lex offers him special robotic hand tech. It's classic Lex Luthor.
Speedy died 8 years ago, but I kinda like the sound of Arsenal.
The next episode starts with Artemis joining Aqualad's undercover mission as his right hand, Tigress, and she has a charm necklace on, all thanks to Zatanna, so that no one could recognize her. So she's all ready now to do all the villain shenanigans. In her first villain mission, she finds out that the Light wants Aqualad's squad, which also includes good old Terra Twins and Icicle Jr., to kidnap Blue Beetle.
So you're Aqualad, working with the bad guys, I see, taking their alien tech to track our friend Blue.
The squad faces a little difficulty in the beginning, but by the end of the episode, they end up infiltrating Mount Justice and successfully kidnap not just Blue Beetle, but also Beast Boy and Bart Allen. To add more to the drama, Aqualad blows up the entire area around Mount Justice as well, all to prove to the Light, his dad, and the chumps on his team that he isn't a hero anymore. Oh wow. Luckily, Nightwing and Superboy make it out in time. Well, because Aqualad gave them time to get out, because he is a hero after all. The following episode, Before the Dawn, starts with some weird-looking aliens experimenting on Blue Beetle. These weird-looking things are later revealed to be the Reach, who are the Light's secret alien partner and also the same dirtbags who enslaved the Earth in Bart Allen's future timeline. They want to take control of Blue Beetle, but due to some bug, no pun intended, they can't do this until they kill Jaime. While talking with the ambassador of the Reach, Aqualad finds out that they plan to abduct and experiment on a lot of children to find out more about the meta gene, which is essentially the gene that gives people superpowers whenever they're put under extremely traumatic situations. Not everybody has this gene, but a lot of children have the potential for it.
But Lagan already has powers. He is Atlantean, hardly an average human.
On the hero side of things, Nightwing comes up with a plan to free everybody who was kidnapped by the Reach. Apparently, Aqualad gave him the info of where they're conducting these experiments, right after he kidnapped half of his young boys. And, well, his evacuation mission was a success, but there were a few roadblocks on the way, like usual. For example, Miss Martian brain blasts Aqualad since she was angry at him for killing Artemis. While she was brain blasting him though, she finds out just what's going on and goes into extreme guilt mode for making Aqualad brain dead. We are also introduced to Black Beetle, who's the soldier in command and a beast in battle. He gives all the heroes, including Superboy, a really hard time. However, Blue Beetle is able to distract him enough for the evacuation mission to be a success.
McGann, what have you done?
I thought he had killed you. That he deserved.
In this episode, we also find out just what causes humanity to be enslaved by the Reach in the future. Apparently, it's Blue Beetle turning evil. Yeah, Bart Allen straight up tells Blue Beetle that he will, at some point, turn evil and work for the Reach to enslave humanity. Oh wow, jeez. This is also the reason why Bart has been constantly hanging around Blue, so that he makes sure nothing turns him evil. At the end of the episode, Nightwing tells Captain Atom, the current hero in charge of the League, to reveal to the public to be careful of the Reach. However, before they could do that, they see the Reach getting cozy with the UN president and swaying the public opinion in their favor. The next episode, True Colors, starts with Blue Beetle telling Nightwing and Canary everything that Bart told him, begging them to find a way to remove the scarab from his back. And so, Bumblebee and Atom shrink and go inside Blue to find a way to remove it. Unfortunately though, they find out that the scarab cannot be removed until, well, they kill Jaime.
We're hurting him!
I know. I'm sorry.
As that all gets sorted, Nightwing comes in with another recon mission for the team. He sends Blue Beetle, Robin, Bart, and Arsenal, which is Real Roy's new hero name, to investigate the new soft drink released by the Reach, in collaboration with Lex Luthor no less. And so, the team goes undercover and infiltrates the facility. They soon find out that the Reach is mixing some kind of alien additive in the drink, and Robin takes some of it out to take it back to Nightwing to find out more about it. However, as they're able to leave, clean and free, Arsenal tries to blow up the facility, simply because it's owned by Lex Luthor and this alerts Black Beetle. All of these Roy boys have anger issues, I'm serious. Black Beetle almost destroys everyone. However, luckily, Green Beetle is able to run interference and save all of them. Yeah, there's a Green Beetle too. As they all travel back to their home base, GB tells Nightwing that he's the Beetle from Mars. He then also reveals that the Reach sent different scarabs to different planets, hoping to invade them one day. So they're basically colonizers who want to invade and control as many planets as they can. He then also reveals that the scarabs usually take over the will of their host body. However, since the blue scarab that was sent to Earth had a bug, Jaime has full control over it. Similarly, he also adds that the green scarab that was sent to Mars couldn't take over his Martian mind, so he has full control over it as well. Meanwhile, on the Aqualad side of things, Black Manta calls in Simon to fix Aqualad's brain, causing more problems for Artemis in the process. This next episode, The Fix, starts with Artemis taking out Simon with an anesthetic shot, which essentially makes him bonkers. I swear, all the girls in the team are just making fun of this guy at this point. Simon? That brain guy? Yeah, we've beaten him like 12 times now. Anyway, after taking him out, again, Artemis tells Manta that Miss M has probably added a virus in Aqualad's brain, which means only she can fix him. And so, Manta sends Artemis and Deathstroke to kidnap Miss M, which they're able to do quite successfully.
No, you'll take Deathstroke.
Perfect.
Upon reaching Manta's base, Miss M faces difficulty in the beginning with all her guilt related to her usage of her mind powers. But eventually, Artemis helps her in starting the process of fixing Aqualad's shattered brain. On the other side of things, Nightwing is looking into Green Beetle and the suspicious Reach drink. All while Green Beetle is cozying up to Blue Beetle, telling him that he might have a way to fix his Scarab situation.
I used my natural shape-shifting abilities to reach inside my Scarab and ensure it could never take control.
This next episode, Runaways, features the abducted kids who have now developed new superhero powers after being experimented on by the Reach, and Ty, Jaime's close friend, is one of them. Apparently, the kids are irritated by all these routine procedures that they have to do in Star Labs, since they've developed powers and they feel like they want to run away. And so, they do. However, Nightwing sends Jaime to convince them to go back to the lab as it isn't safe out there for them until they learn to control their powers. Amongst all the chaos, Lex sends Red Volcano to start attacking Star Labs, and Blue Beetle literally destroys every inch of him. All while putting all the kids and the people inside in danger. The kids soon start to feel like there's something fishy going on with Blue Beetle. And they're right. Apparently, Green Beetle turned him evil. So you know, I never trusted that guy, okay? Not one bit. He came out of nowhere. He's got to be a bad guy. Anyway, Lex contacts the kids, telling them that he has a place for them to stay, free from all this chaos since they can't go home and endanger their family. And after a bit of arguing, they agree, just for the time being. Lex also tries to convince the kids that he no longer works with Reach. They're doubtful, but, well, they really need a place to crash.
Don't worry, my brothers. The meat will soon be eating out of your hands.
The following episode, War, is all about War World, which is essentially a massive artificial satellite filled with an endless supply of deadly weapons that work on autopilot. This satellite can destroy any planet in no time. And today, it is here on a mission to destroy Earth. You see, the War World is currently controlled by another powerful alien called Mongol. And well, when Mongol heard that the Reach has invaded the Earth, he decided to destroy Earth to prevent Reach from growing even more powerful by gaining control of yet another planet.
And the War World will unleash all its weapons upon the Earth.
Luckily, though, the Reach and Earth's mighty heroes are able to team up and defeat Mongol eventually. Well, they had to. About 2/3 of Reach's firepower also gets destroyed in this mission, which is more good news, I guess. However, just as things are looking all happy and chirpy, Blue Beetle suddenly decides to kidnap a bunch of his team members to deliver them to the Reach. He also snatches the key of the War World from the heroes to take it with him, which essentially means the Reach owns the War World now. Still, Arsenal manages to catch all of this and escapes Blue's grasp. Alright bro, calm down. No one's taking you.
Well, the gang's all here.
In the next episode, Complications, Blue Beetle acts all innocent in front of Nightwing, telling him that all the missing team members just got teleported somewhere and that he couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. Right. Meanwhile, on the Aqualad side of things, Sportsmaster and Cheshire infiltrate Black Manta's base in order to kill Aqualad since they believe that he murdered Artemis. However, after learning the truth about the situation, they help Miss Martian escape Manta's base since she has already fixed Aqualad's brain.
Leaving so soon? And without a goodbye.
As the episode ends, Nightwing is also able to figure out that Blue Beetle is under Reach's control now. Well, since the Reach literally announces to the public that Blue Beetle almost single-handedly saved Earth from the War World, which is very not true. I hate it when the bad guys have a degree in marketing. Makes it so complicated. The next episode, The Hunt, kicks off with Lex Luthor advising those same runaway kids from Star Labs to return the favor to the heroes who saved them from the Reach. He gives them a mother box, which is essentially a sentient device which can teleport them anywhere, and guides them to save all the heroes that Blue Beetle kidnapped. Now, you must be thinking, why is he doing that? Well, it's all because he wants the key to the War World, and he's sending these poor kids as a distraction so that he can send Deathstroke to easily steal it for him. As the kids reach the war world, which is where the Reach is keeping the heroes, they also see that Arsenal is there as well, still running for his life, trying to contact Nightwing so that he can tell him what's going on. The kids and Arsenal soon team up and are able to save the heroes by unleashing Mongul at Black Beetle. Meanwhile, Lex successfully gets the key as well. As the episode ends though, Nightwing kicks out Arsenal from the team, since his actions have been kinda selfish lately. Oh, and the kids also cut ties with Lex since Arsenal tells them that he's just the worst. Yep, he still hates him.
We have our own way of doing things. What do you say, bro? You want to ride with us?
Sounds like a plan.
The next episode, Intervention, starts with the Reach making sure that all the Earthlings see Blue Beetle as their new big hero. Meanwhile, the team works on a plan to kidnap Blue Beetle in order to free him from Reach's control. You see, Jaime Reyes hasn't gone evil all of a sudden. Blue Beetle's actually not the one in control, it's the Reach ambassador who's been controlling him lately. And so, there's still hope.
Why am I still waving? I look like an idiot! Scarab, get us out of there! The Reach desires the crowd's adulation.
Zatanna, Rocket, Bart, and the others take Blue Beetle to Bialia, where Zatanna found an old Scarab temple. Zatanna then begins to cleanse Blue Beetle out of Reach's control and back to normal, and it works. As the ambassador of the Reach sees all of this, he decides to send Green Beetle to fix the situation. But, well, Zatanna cleanses him from Reach's control as well.
Congratulations, Jaime Reyes. All right, like you're happy about this. I am, I swear.
The episode then ends with Queen Bee, Bialia's dictator, revealing that she deliberately let the heroes do whatever they wanted because the Light has plans to double-cross the Reach. In this episode, called Summit, the Reach and the Light, all except Lex Luthor, come face-to-face to discuss all their recent failures. As they start to blame each other for all that has happened, Ra's al Ghul notices the glamour charm on Tigress's neck and quickly figures out that she is, in fact, Artemis Croc. And just like that, Aqualad and Artemis's covers are completely blown. Aqualad then reveals that the Light was sabotaging the Reach behind their backs this whole time. They even told Lex to put a neutralizing agent in the Reach's famous soft drink, the drink that was supposed to make people servile, and were also behind Lex stealing the key to the war world. Of course, the Light doesn't want Earth to be a slave planet, when they plan to make it the ruler planet of all the galaxies.
No agreement exists that guarantees the life of Black Manta.
Manta guarantees that himself.
Being a partner of the Reach was just one of Vandal Savage's survival of the fittest schemes. Soon enough, all the heroes strike in to take down both the Light and the Reach. They're also able to record an official confession from Vandal Savage that it was him who was responsible for the chaos caused in Rimbor, and not the Justice League. Which then leads to Batman, Superman, and all the other heroes winning their trial. Reach's ambassador also gets recorded revealing that he wants to convert Earth into his own slave planet. And, well, he also loses his public image when all of it gets leaked. Seeing his failures, Black Beetle gets sick of him as well, and decides to kill him.
The war world's been activated. It's leaving Earth's orbit, heading out into space. Is that good news or bad?
The episode then ends with Reach leaving the Earth since their invitation gets revoked by the United Nations. You see, the Reach cannot stay on a planet where they're not invited to stay on. It's something they have to follow because of a peace treaty they signed a long time ago. That's why they invest so much in things like public image and marketing. However, before they officially leave, they set off a doomsday plan to destroy Earth. Talk about if I can't have her, nobody can. The last episode of the season starts with Lex offering Nightwing and the heroes the antidote to the Earth's doomsday devices that the Reach set off before leaving. The heroes are trusting him with this because... So, there are about 20 doomsday devices that are disrupting the magnetic field of the Earth, and the heroes get to work in teams of 2 to neutralize all the devices with the antidote eggs provided by LexCorp.
Every single magnetic field disruptor must be disabled before they chrysalis to guarantee Earth's safety.
They're able to successfully neutralize all 20 of them. However, soon they find out that there is one more rather powerful magnetic field disruptor that they missed because it was hidden. Since the antidote can't work on it anymore because it's too late, Flash, Bart, and Kid Flash try to neutralize it by running in the opposite direction. The plan becomes a success. However, since Kid Flash's speed is a tad slower than his counterparts, he ends up siphoning all the leaking energy from the Doomsday device, and he dies. R.I.P. Wally West. I'm gonna miss you.
No. He loved you.
The heroes mourn Wally's death, and well, Nightwing decides to leave the team since he needs a break after what just happened. Wally was his best friend after all. He tells Aqualad that Batgirl is more than ready to take his place, and he leaves. Artemis also decides to officially change her name to Tigress, dictating that she doesn't want to be Artemis without Wally around. And well, Bart Allen officially decides to take up the mantle of Kid Flash in Wally's honor. Apart from all of this, Miss M also decides to finally break up with Lagoon Boy, accepting that he was just a rebound, and that she's always had feelings for Superboy. Meanwhile, Superboy sees the growth that Miss M has achieved after what happened with Aqualad and decides to forgive her for her past sins. Wonder Girl and Robin also decide to get together after this, and, well, the episode then ends with Lex Luthor becoming the head of the United Nations, since, in the eyes of the public, his antidote saved the Earth from the Reach's doomsday devices. Alright.
Business as usual.
Let's jump right into Season 3. Season 3, Episode 1, Prince's All, takes place 2 years after the events of the last episode. It begins with Black Lightning accidentally killing a supposed villain that was terrorizing planet Rann. Upon further investigation, the League finds out that it wasn't even a villain. It was a 13-year-old Earth girl who was exploited and turned into a meta-slave after a secret organization trafficked her, since she tested positive for the meta gene. This traumatic incident brings forth this new issue of traffickers, who take children that test positive for the meta gene and exploit them however they see fit. Of course, Black Lightning goes into ultimate guilt mode after this and decides to leave the Justice League. Later, at a JLA meeting set up to discuss how Lex Luthor has made it impossible for the League and the team to officially function under the United Nations, we find out that Aqualad is now Aquaman, and is the new head of the Justice League. And Megan is the new leader of the team. Meanwhile, Nightwing is still on his sabbatical. Batman proposes to disband the League and the team at this very meeting, telling the new Aquaman that all the heroes are powerless under Lex Luthor's command, and all of them would be able to function better as vigilantes instead. However, Aquaman, Black Canary, and Wonder Woman take offense at this, telling Batman that the Justice League is a symbol of hope, that they can fight these issues through legislative method. Batman, however, decides to quit. After he quits, all the other heroes in the Bat family and Green Arrow family decide to follow him as well.
I'm sorry, but I hereby tender my resignation to the Justice League.
Canary thinks this was all planned by Green Arrow and Batman, and she's right. Later, we see Nightwing in vigilante mode, working with Oracle, aka Barbara Gordon, to find clues about this whole meta-human trafficking issue. Soon, he finds a clay-like tar that can turn humans into meta-humans, if they test positive for the meta gene. Upon further investigation, he also finds out that this tar is mostly found in a country called Markovia, and so, he decides to investigate Markovia. Not before he can summon a suitable team for this big mission, though. Nightwing then soon decides to call Superboy, who's living with Ms. Martian now and is also engaged to her.
I'm carrying this around for a month, waiting for just the right moment.
And also Tigress, who's living with Clone Roy, now known as Will Harper, and his little daughter, Lien. Yeah, we met her in Season 2. Before you get any ideas, though, Will and Tigress are only platonic. For now, at least. Oh, and Nightwing also convinces Black Lightning to join the good fight against the traffickers, even though Black Lightning reveals it to Nightwing that his powers have stopped working after he accidentally killed that helpless 13-year-old. Back at Markovia, we find out that the country is a monarchy ruled by the Markov royal family, and the king and the queen have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, of which the boys are fine and dandy, but the girl went missing some time ago. Their younger brother, Bryon Markov, is doing everything he can to find his sister. Meanwhile, Gregor Markov, the older boy, looks more relaxed on the matter, and is rather focused on his responsibilities toward his kingdom. The royal family also has a royal guard, by the way, Baron Delam, who is the queen's brother. As the episode ends, we find out that the king and the queen have been suddenly assassinated just as Nightwing, Tigress, Superboy, and Black Lightning are on their way to investigate this royal mess of a country. The next episode, Royal We, starts off with Nightwing and Tigress infiltrating the royal crowning party of Gregor Markov, as he is the new king now. They soon find out that a geneticist named Simon X has very close ties to the royal guard, Baron Delam. Turns out, both of these people are responsible for the killing of the previous king and queen, and also the tar production of Markovia. Apparently, they decided to kill the king and the queen because they were causing problems in their trafficking-related operation. To add more to this, Count Vertigo is also in on this. Why? Because with the support of these Markovian forces, he wants to be king in his own country of Vlatava. So he's just helping the big bad guys here due to that reason, and that reason only. Later in the episode, the heroes also find out that Queen Bee conquered Karak, which is a neighboring country of Markovia, and all these new Karaki refugees are flowing into Markovia. And, well, a lot of these refugees are easy prey for the metagene traffickers in Markovia. As the team infiltrates their base, Tigress saves a half-dead Karaki refugee from the traffickers. The next episode, Imminent Threat, kicks off with the Prince of Markovia, Brian Markov, revealing to Simon X that he wants to be a metahuman so that he can find his missing sister, Tara. However, X mistakenly, and rather stupidly, thinks that the prince would be cool about their meta-trafficking thing, so he ends up showing him their entire base of operations. I didn't know even scientists could be that stupid.
How many children have you taken? How many have you murdered? You're upset, I understand.
Anyway, when the prince gets angry, seeing all of this, the villains then have to right X's wrongs by trying to convert him into a controlled metahuman too. Luckily though, the team ends up saving Prince Brian just at the right time. The team then also saves Dr. Jace, another doctor at the facility who was apparently working for the villains, although not by choice. After being out of the tar, Prince Brian soon manifests powers and turns into a ball of anger. He then flies to his brother, King Gregor, and tells him all about the trafficking operations taking place in Markovia, ousting the royal guard Delam and that stupid geneticist X. After all that, however, the king just decides to banish all metahumans, including his brother, from Markovia for the time being, just until all of this gets resolved, and also to keep his country safe.
What are you doing? Delam is the criminal, not me!
And so, the trafficking operations in Markovia and that tar production stuff take a heavy blow. However, now the team has 3 strays that they need to take care of. Brian, that half-dead Karaki refugee who apparently has weird Halo-like powers, and Dr. Jace. In the next episode, Private Security, Nightwing hires Will Harper, Roy Harper, and Jim Harper, their uncle, to destroy yet another trafficking ring in the city. However, before they go on that mission, Will, who left the hero business 2 years ago to work in private security, asks Nightwing, Roy, and Jim to help him with a private security job first.
What are we talking about here?
Later in the episode, it is revealed that Prince Brian is crashing with Superboy and Miss M, Halo is crashing with Will and Tigress, and Black Lightning is taken in Dr. Jace for the time being. The following episode, Away Mission, kicks off at New Genesis. So, New Genesis has 2 species, the bugs and the new gods, and they have some kind of trade-off between them, like a barter system to exchange resources. However, things haven't been so great lately, all because Miss Martian's white Martian brother, Macomb. He's regularly transforming into the new god Orion and misbehaving with the bugs to cause tensions between the 2 species.
Forager Tortorion, Kagena, those Kemnos no Kagena.
And so, without much effort, all the bugs start hating the new gods, except a sweet bug named Forager. Forager thinks that Orion isn't acting like Orion and decides to tell new god Bear about it. Yeah, we met him in Season 1. And so Bear then takes help of Superboy's fiancée Miss Martian to deal with this situation.
Superboy! It's good to see you too, Bear.
Although Miss M successfully defeats Macomb with her team and oust him, the bugs still hate the new gods, and now Forager too, for asking for their help. Amidst all this chaos, Macomb also threatens Forager, wanting to kill him. And so Miss M decides to take the sweet little bug under her care for the time being, which means another stray at the house. Yay! In the next episode, Rescue Op, the heroes infiltrate Infinity Island, which is where Ra's al Ghul is. Apparently, they find out that Tara, Brian's missing sister, is with the League of Shadows now, and so they decide to rescue her.
Hush, children. I am trying to meditate.
However, Ra's al Ghul catches them and politely tells them that he isn't the head of the League of Shadows anymore. And so, the mission is a bust. We do spot Jason Todd there, but, well, that's about it. Meanwhile, in her research, Oracle is also able to find out who Halo actually is, since the girl had amnesia just after being rescued and didn't remember who she was. Evidently, her real name is Gabrielle Dow.
You're approved to enter Markovia, but why we allow it is beyond me.
And yeah, how can I forget? In this episode, we also find out that Nightwing and Oracle are also officially dating. Good for them, I guess. In this next episode, called Evolution, Nightwing, Artemis, and Superboy spend all their time in training Halo, Brian, and Forager.
What is wrong with naked? Forager is naked now.
And yeah, Black Lightning and Dr. Jace end up sleeping together. And yeah, that's about it. In this next one, Triptych. It is revealed that there are several different teams working to crack down several different metahuman traffickers. And although leaders of these teams, including Aquaman, leader of JLA, Megan, leader of the Covert Junior team, Nightwing, leader of the Vigilantes, Batman, leader of the Bat Family, and Wonder Woman, leader of the GLA Galaxy Tour, which is an intergalactic tour to fix JLA's reputation after the Rimborg crisis, are all doing regular meetings to keep each other in the loop. The team members have no idea about this though, since apparently there's a lot of below-the-belt stuff going on. In Season 3, Episode 10, Exceptional Human Beings, Batman receives a tip from Cheshire that the new League of Shadows has its base in Santa Prisca, and so he infiltrates that base along with Katana and Metamorpho and finds out that Deathstroke is actually the new head of the League of Shadows.
Good luck. And welcome to the jungle.
He also notices that Lady Shiva acts as the sensei of the group, and both of them have recently joined the Light as well. Meanwhile, Cheshire looks around Will and Tyrus's house to catch a glimpse of Leanne, her daughter. Will catches her and tells her to move in with him and start over. However, she says that she just needed one last look into what could have been before finally abandoning Will and her daughter. This next episode, Another Freak, focuses entirely on Victor Stone, this new athletic guy whose father is a world-renowned scientist, but also like the kind of guy who never showed up for their kid, no matter what happened. And so one day, Vic just decides that he's had it with his father being constantly absent and decides to visit his lab to tell him off. However, as he starts lecturing his dad, a really brutal accident happens which destroys the whole thing. Fortunately, Vic's father gets off with only a few scratches. However, Vic, well, he gets away with more than just a few scratches. But all is not lost yet. Since Vic's father is a genius scientist, he's able to fix Vic by attaching him to a father box, a sentient piece of technology from Apocalypse. As soon as Vic wakes up, he freaks out seeing himself. He then starts feeling intense emotions and even tries killing his dad for ruining his life. Luckily though, Halo suddenly boom tubes in and calms Vic down with her energy. Vic then also decides to leave with Halo since he can't really stand his dad right now. Later in the episode, it's revealed that Halo's actually a mother box, a sentient piece of technology from New Genesis. It's only because of that she was able to sense Father Box's evil energy, just quickly teleported to where Vic was to cleanse that energy from him. When Nightwing and the team investigate more about this, they also find out that the real Gabrielle Dow, the Karaki refugee, is actually dead, and that the soul of a mother box actually resides within Halo. It was that soul that brought her back to life. In the following episode, Nightmare Monkeys, we see Beast Boy working as an actor in the studio of Granny Goodness. Apparently, after his mom died, he really wanted to try acting since it made him feel close to her. All is well and good at first, but later in the episode, Beastie finds out that Granny is selling these VR goggles that are secretly testing teens to find out if they have the metagene. And well, if they test positive, these very goggles then brainwash them into traveling to specific locations from where they can get trafficked. Oh yeah. And we also get a really cool Teen Titans Go cameo in this one as well. This next episode, called True Heroes, is where it all goes down. Nightwing takes Brian, Forger, Superboy, Tigress, and Black Lightning to rescue Princess Tara from the shady Meta-Teen fight club in Bialia, where the rich and wealthy bet on them. They're able to save Tara, but, well, as the episode ends, we find out that even after being free of mind control, Tara is willingly, of her own choice, working for Deathstroke as a double agent. And she plans to spy on Nightwing, the team, and probably all the Justice League for him. In the next few episodes, from 14 to 26 to be exact, Brian, Halo, Tara, and Forager officially join the team to help the heroes fight the good fight. Meanwhile, Lex keeps making it difficult for the Justice League to function under the United Nations. Beast Boy confronts Granny Goodness and reveals the hidden motives behind her VR goggles to the public.
Your flair for drama is always the perfect spoonful of sugar to choke on after the medicine goes down.
However, with a few donations to the Meta-Teen Charity Center in Taos, and making all her engineers take the blame for it, she almost gets off scot-free. This is not all she does, though. After it's revealed that Granny is actually working for Darkseid, we find out that she's actually the big star trafficker amongst the low-level traffickers. It is then also revealed that she's making a very deadly tech called the Ghost Dimension with the help of these helpless meta-teens. Apparently, this tech is just a big brainwash dimension that will convert literally anybody into Granny's slave. Back on Earth, Beast Boy is done with Granny having her way, and Lex literally showcasing heroes as some kind of problem that needs to be politically controlled. The general defamation of the word meta is also something that's harming the good old hero business, where humans that aren't meta feel like they need to be wary of every meta person, since meta crimes are at an all-time high because of the traffickers and Lex's pointless red tapeism. And so, to combat all that, BB suggests that we will form a team called the Outsiders that will fight the good fight in the spotlight. also that the public can feel safer and put their trust back in the heroes again.
Markovia and the world already know what I have become. Now I want to show them who I have become.
At first, Aquaman and Miss M are a bit hesitant. However, later, they have to agree since all the kids, including Blue Beetle, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, and BB, aren't taking no for an answer. Soon enough, the Outsiders start doing missions, all while taking in all the spotlight, and they start trending. The public opinion also slowly shifts into favor of the heroes. However, BB doesn't know that a lot of the missions that he went on were fake, and organized by Batman, Aquaman, and all the other leaders to make sure that the Outsiders look awesome in the eyes of the public. On the other side of things, we find out that Dr. Jace isn't the damsel in distress that she claimed to be. Apparently, she lied to Halo, telling her that she has some sort of disease, and delivered her to Granny Goodness in the pretense of knowing a cure. It is then revealed that Jace is actually a psycho who converted Brian and Tara into metateens herself. And since she considers this transformation to be a rebirth, she literally thinks of them as her own children. What? She used to think of Halo as her own child as well, up until she found out that Halo had no meta gene. She was just a regular half-dead girl who was then possessed by a mother box so that she could be brought to life. And now, well, she's a living mother box.
And worse, this thing was dating my son. I had to separate them. So I lied.
Anyway, after Jace hands over Halo to Granny Goodness, all to keep her away from Brian, Granny Goodness attaches Halo to her ghost dimension, declaring that with a living mother box attached to the ghost dimension, she can literally brainwash big crowds of people in an instant. The heroes get a word of this from Vandal Savage himself and then get to work to stop Granny. However, she breaks no sweat and enslaves all the Justice League as well as every member of the covert team. Luckily though, Victor Stone, the living father box, comes in with the Outsiders and puts Granny in her place. He releases Halo from Granny's shackles, and then Halo quickly manages to heal everyone from the collective brainwash. My favorite moment amidst all this? BB pulling this deadly move against the good old Granny. Oh, the disrespect was real indeed. After all that, Will tries to kinda sorta date Tigress. And they even kiss, but, well, as soon as that happens, Tigress runs away with tears in her eyes straight to Zatanna, asking her to arrange a meetup with Wally's spirit.
Yeah, it's very late, babe. Sun will rise soon.
Let it. I never want to leave.
After the meetup, she decides she still needs to process her feelings, and she can't just date Will just because it's convenient at the moment. Okay, bro, great, cover up. The last episode of the season focuses on Markovia. Baron Bedlam, the ex-royal guard, escapes from prison to organize a coup against the king of Markovia. And the Outsiders, as well as the Vigilante and the covert teams, all band together to fix the situation.
Little prince, there's no Superboy here to save you now.
Soon enough, Deathstroke tells Tara to kill BB in front of everybody, so the popularity of Outsiders can finally tank, and Lex can take over the media again. However, Tara has a change of heart, thinking about how good the heroes have been to her. Hell, Tigress even shared her home with her, and so she decides to reject Deathstroke's request at the last second. However, not everything is sunshine and rainbows yet. Brian, apparently, decides to kill his Uncle Bedlam in front of everyone, and then even goes on to take the king's crown for himself, overthrowing his elder brother Gregor. Of course, the heroes are disappointed in him and even stop talking to him, but hey, it's his country, so he can do what he wants, I guess. As the season ends, Superboy makes sure Lex Luthor's real face is brought to public by revealing his Cadmus experience and all the things that Lex has been doing lately. And with that, Lex's popularity takes another hit, and he has to resign as the head of the UN, which means no more pointless restrictions on the heroes. And yeah, Batman, Aquaman, Nightwing, and all the leaders apologize to their team members for all the below-the-belt stuff that they did.
Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Miss Martian, Oracle, Robin, and I have been running a secret task force.
And then, they also step down from their positions, after making Black Lightning the official head. Season 4 kicks off with Ms. Martian's character arc, spanning from episode 1 to 4. It begins with Miss Sam and Connor leaving for Mars with Beast Boy and Martian Manhunter for a Martian wedding ceremony. You see, they plan to do 2 wedding ceremonies, one on Mars and one on good old Earth. Things are peachy at first, however, as soon as the couple lands on Mars, one by one, problems start to arise. Most of these problems stem from Mars's, orthodox customs. The customs that put green Martians above white Martians on the supposed food chain of respect. The system isn't anything new to Mars, so why the sudden surge in tension?
This is my sister, Marie Moors.
Actually, I go by Emery Jones now.
Well, you see, the usual racist issues of Mars have actually been worsened by the death of the previous king, which happened not long ago. Apparently, the previous king was progressive, used to take a lot of initiatives to make sure that there's no bad blood between the green and white. However, when he died, both the groups started blaming each other for it, and, well, it became kind of like a Cold War situation. To relieve at least some of his Cold War tension, the king's murder needed to be solved. And so, Prince Jem, the previous king's son, hires Connor and Beastie, and they get to work, while Miss Martian's family takes care of the wedding preparations.
The king's body was found in the Grand Hall of the Royal Palace. I found traces of a familiar residue. I've seen something like it before, but can't quite place it.
Connor and BB soon find out that it was actually Prince Jem's Green Martian girlfriend that actually accidentally ended up killing his dad. Apparently, the king was all progressive when it came to treating the white and green Martians equally. However, he still believed that the royal red Martians were above both of them. And so, when Jem expressed that he wanted to marry a green Martian, the king flat out denied him. Jem's girlfriend then went to secretly talk to his dad, hoping she would be able to convince him. However, she instead ended up killing him through her magic, which she didn't have complete control over.
And before I had time to take it back...
Later, we also find out that Miss Martian's brother, Macam, is leading a white Martian rebel group and that he plans to kill all the green Martians as well as the royal red Martians through a deadly nuclear bomb that he borrowed from Darkseid's planet Apocalypse. He soon sets off the bomb at Prince Jem's birthday celebration. However, Connor is able to sense it on time, so he jumps on a hot lava river to destroy the bomb before it bursts. Connor isn't able to stop the bombing on time. However, he's able to lessen the impact considerably. But unfortunately, he does end up losing his own life amidst all of this. When the scene is later investigated by Superman and Martian Manhunter, they find traces of kryptonite from the bombing site. Next up, we have Tigress's arc, which spans from episode 5 to 8. It begins with Cassandra Savage, Vandal Savage's daughter, and Onyx, another League of Shadows assassin, both knocking at Tigress's door to seek asylum from the League of Shadows. However, only Onyx is here for the right reasons. Cassandra is actually sent by Lady Shiva to act as a mole and a distraction. You see, it's all a part of Lady Shiva's plan to distract Tigress so that she can kidnap her daughter, Cassandra Cain, who's a new member of the covert team that functions under Tigress. After Cain is kidnapped by her assassin mother, we find out that she has a rather tragic backstory. You see, as Lady Shiva's daughter, Cain was raised to be the ultimate silent weapon. Shiva even took her vocal cords to make sure that the only language she spoke was body language. However, when Cain was finally ready to do solo missions, her very first mission coincided with the Bat Family. The Bat Family was trying to stop the Joker, meanwhile Cain was sent by Shiva to kill the Joker. As Cain proceeds to kill him though, Barbara stops her by literally shoving herself in between. And well, it was after this incident that she became paralyzed from the waist down. Barbara doesn't regret this though, since she stopped Cain from committing her very first murder, from crossing that infamous line. Tigress is soon able to rescue Cain with the help of Cheshire, Onyx, and Barbara Gordon. And as the arc concludes, she also attempts to save her own sister, Cheshire, from the dark side. Being inspired by Cain, Tigress tells Cheshire that she also has the capability to overcome their father's shadow, that kids aren't supposed to walk in their parents' footsteps. And so, taking a step in the positive direction, Tigress sends Onyx and Cheshire, two people who actually want to change their ways, to Ra's al Ghul for rehabilitation.
The shadows made you into weapons, but per the Master, we are no longer in that business.
Apparently, he's not a villain anymore, and only he can cleanse whatever the League of Shadows does to its previous members' brains. Next up, it's time for Zatanna's arc, which begins with episode 9 and ends with episode 13. The arc starts with Zatanna mentoring Tracy, Khalid, and Mary, who you might also know as Mary Marvel, the sister of Shazam. As their little magic session is going on, Z feels overwhelmed with a chaotic presence, and so she flies away with her students to check it out. Turns out the energy is coming from a new Lord of Chaos. The arc then takes us into the backstory of the Lords of Chaos and the Lords of Order. You see, balance is key when it comes to our world. And so these cosmic entities, known as the Lords of Chaos and the Lords of Order, have the very delicate job of maintaining that balance. For example, Clarion the Witch Boy spews chaos as he's a Lord of Chaos. Meanwhile, Dr. Fate, who's a Lord of Order, makes sure that everything stays in order. There's a bit more to this, however, since the arc then delves deep into Vandal Savage's backstory and his ties with both of the sides. You see, Vandal Savage is a guy who's been there since the creation of Earth itself. His only goal is to advance Earth to its peak potential, and so he often plays around to get what he needs to acquire that growth. Sometimes he sides with Chaos, and sometimes he chooses order. He currently is on the side of Chaos since he has a partnership with Klarion the Witch Boy.
300 nights. Klarion killed Vanguard in 300 different ways.
But since he's been treating Klarion like a lapdog lately, the Lords of Chaos get angry with Clarion's performance and send this new Lord of Chaos called Childe to take Klarion out. The Lords of Chaos also reward her with all their energies to do it. This is a problem. Childe is way too ruthless. She literally destroys Klarion and spews chaos all around the planet. Luckily though, Vandal Savage convinces the Lords of Chaos to cut off that extra energy. Also that Z, Tracy, Khalid, Mary, and Dr. Fate can easily defeat Childe.
Let's finish this, shall we?
When all is back to normal, Z commends Tracy and Khalid on doing an excellent job, and quote-unquote honors them by including them in her new plan regarding Fate's helmet. She tells Nabu that he will now have 4 hosts, including her, Zatara, Tracy, and Khalid. However, she keeps Mary out of this arrangement, since Mary attempted to drain her teammates' powers multiple times in the mission. And well, Zatanna just thinks she's not ready for that kind of power. In this arc, we also find out that Nabu is actually Vandal Savage's son. Well, he's not the only famous guy that Savage is related to. Apparently, Arion, the guy who literally created Atlantis a long time ago, was Savage's grandson too. Which brings us to the next arc. Aquaman's arc, which spans from episode 14 to 17, begins with literally everyone telling Calder to take a break. But how can he, when problems arise one after the other? The latest problem in Atlantis is the supposed return of the one and only Arion.
Arion, Lord of Atlantis? Arion, the founder of Atlantis?
Apparently, there's a prophecy in Atlantis that mentions the return of the kingdom's one true king, and Arion's return matches that prophecy word for word. King Orin isn't one to believe in prophecies, however. If Arion has the support of the public, he's ready to step down and let him take the reign of Atlantis. Fortunately though, just to be sure that he isn't a pretender, Orin sends Aquaman, his boyfriend Wind, and Lagoon Boy to retrieve Arion's crown from the depths of the ocean in order to do a DNA test. But you see, he doesn't even have to do that DNA test, since as soon as this fake Arion wears the real Arion's crown, he gets decimated, proving that he's not what he claims to be. It is then revealed that this fake Arion was actually Ocean Master, that he went through a severe plastic surgery kind of process to pull this off. And yeah, he's only able to do that through Vandal Savage's help. Talk about overkill. As everything comes to light, Calder goes on a sabbatical. Mera becomes the sole ruler, and King Orin decides to head back to the surface world as Aquaman again. From episode 17 to 26, we delve deep into Superboy's arc. It is revealed that he's actually alive and is stuck in the Phantom Zone with notable Kryptonian criminals, including General Zod and his wife Ursa Zod. Turns out, there's a lot of time travel happening in this entire situation. First, we have Lor Zod, the son of General Zod, and Ursa Zod from the future, who wants to get his parents out of the Phantom Zone. And then, we have the Legionnaires, who are essentially the good guys from the future who want to stop Lor from doing that.
The newly formed Legion of Superheroes defeated Zod with the very Phantom Zone projector that had released him from prison.
Should also be noted that Lor wants to kill Superboy as well, also that he can eliminate the Legionnaires from the time stream itself. Well, because Superboy is the one who inspired their creation 10 years in the future. If he doesn't exist, how will they? When Lor first tried to kill Superboy, by lacing Makam's bomb with kryptonite, a Legionnaire called Phantom Girl managed to save Superboy by density shifting to the Phantom Zone. However, even after being saved, the guy is for sure losing his mind and going back to his basic Cadmus programming. Soon enough, the team hears about this and enters the Phantom Zone through Zatanna's magic to take Superboy out of there. However, they fail at their mission since Superboy is surrounded by General Zod's army. Superboy is only able to get out when Lor Zod himself opens a boom tube to finally get his parents out. And after that, it's full-on villain versus hero situation.
Where he failed to rule and raise your world to galactic supremacy, I, General Zod, will succeed for you all.
Which the heroes end up winning, obviously. Miss Martian even fries Lor Zod's brain for trying to kill her man, which was indeed an added bonus. And to top it all off, the season also had the happiest of endings, with Connor and Megan finally getting their happily ever after. Wow, so that was the entire story of Young Justice up until now. I don't know about you, but I for sure enjoyed the rewatch, especially season 2. What's your favorite season? Also, who's your favorite character? You know, you should all just totally tell me about your Young Justice favorites. I'm so excited to hear about it. Until next time, have a good day, and as usual, thanks for watching. See ya!